One of the best things about diving is that there's always something new to try and someplace new to find underwater adventure. But some divers miss out on some of the best diving because they think cold water takes the fun out of diving. It doesn't. Being cold does. Thanks to today's dry suits, you can dive in comfort in colder water, and that means that dry suit diving can open whole new underwater worlds you might not see otherwise. To understand dry suit diving, let's begin with a look at why you get cold underwater. We'll compare how dry suits and wet suits differ. Next, we'll go over the different types of dry suit construction, the undergarments you wear under them for insulation, and the appropriate weight systems, BCDs, and argon inflation systems you may use with dry suits. This provides the basis for understanding diving with a dry suit and about dry suit safety and handling emergencies. Finally, we'll cover basic dry suit maintenance and dry suit repairs. Practically everyone knows that water makes you cold faster than air at the same temperature. But have you ever asked yourself why? It's because water has a higher heat capacity than air. In other words, a given volume of water can absorb significantly more heat than the same volume of air. Thanks to its high heat capacity, water carries away heat about 25 times faster than air. It's a pretty warm day if it's 27 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But in water the same temperature, even a swimmer cools pretty quick. Without an exposure suit, water has to be about 34 degrees Celsius, 93 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer for your body to keep up with heat loss. As we'll discuss in a moment, an exposure suit slows heat loss underwater. But while we say casually that a wet or dry suit keeps you warm, it's more accurate to say that it delays how long it takes to get cold. In most diving situations, given enough time, you'll lose enough heat to become uncomfortable. But with the ideal suit for the temperature, you finish the dive before you get too cool. There are 8 variables that affect how fast you lose heat in water. First, there's the water temperature. And second, how long you're exposed to the water. The insulating qualities of your exposure suit is a third. Your body's ability to generate heat is a fourth variable. People with more muscle mass tend to stay warmer, but your overall metabolism rate, and even whether you're hungry or not, affects how much heat your body generates. A fifth influence on how fast you lose heat is how much fat tissue you have. Fat tissue insulates and tends to help you retain heat. 6. Body shape affects heat loss. A high surface area to weight retains less heat, so generally, thin, tall people tend to lose heat faster than shorter, heavier people, all things being equal. And 7th, you acclimate to water temperatures both physically and psychologically. Divers in cooler climates usually consider tropical water warm. but people who live in tropics find it cool and need more insulation. Finally, your activity level plays a part. If you're swimming around a lot, you generate more heat than if you stay in one place the entire dive. Getting too cold not only takes the fun out of diving, but it has some safety concerns. Our bodies function in a very narrow core temperature range centered around 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If the core temperature drops below this range, a diver experiences hypothermia. Even mild hypothermia can be dangerous. Initial signs and symptoms include uncontrollable shivering, extremity numbness, extremity blueness, fatigue and drowsiness. If it continues, the diver's decision-making abilities, strength, and endurance diminish. As hypothermia becomes severe, shivering stops, confusion sets in, followed by unconsciousness and eventually death. So remember, treat shivering as a warning sign, no matter what the water temperature or what kind of suit you're wearing. If you shiver uncontrollably, end the dive and seek warmth at once. As you probably know, there are three basic types of exposure suits: bodysuits, wetsuits, and dry suits. Bodysuits, or skin suits, have some insulating qualities, but they're primarily to protect you from sunburn and abrasion. So let's focus on wetsuits and dry suits. Wetsuits and dry suits both insulate you, but in different ways. A wetsuit is made of foam neoprene, which is a good insulator. When you start your dive, a thin water layer seeps in between the neoprene and your skin and gets trapped. Your body quickly heats this water, then heat loss slows because heat transfers slowly through the neoprene. However, the trapped water does nothing to slow heat loss. It still carries heat away as fast as it's lost through the neoprene to the water beyond. It's only the neoprene that insulates you. Thicker neoprene provides more insulation. Dry suits, on the other hand, are watertight suits made of different materials that we'll talk about in a moment. The suit, and usually an undergarment, insulate like a wetsuit's neoprene, but you're also surrounded by gas, air, or sometimes argon. Air's lower heat capacity slows heat transfer away from your skin in addition to the undergarment and dry suit insulation. Unlike in a wetsuit, everything between you and the water outside the suit retards heat loss. This is why a dry suit insulates better. By adding insulation layers, you reduce heat loss further. Using argon insulates better because it has about half the heat capacity of air and conducts heat even slower. We'll talk more about using argon in a bit. With modern dry suits in good repair, most divers remain completely dry, though perspiration causes some normal dampness. A few divers, especially those with lean arms, experience minor leakage, mainly around wrist seals when your movements create momentary channels that let in water. You can avoid this somewhat by putting the wrist seals higher on your arm. Even with this occasional minor leakage, a dry suit lets you stay comfortable longer than a wetsuit and make more or longer dives in cooler water. You use air faster when you're cold, so you'll probably find you use less air when dry suit diving. And unlike wetsuits, which lose insulation as you go deeper due to compression, most dry suits insulate just as well deep as shallow. Other dry suit advantages include that you can vary your insulation to match the water temperature, and dry suits don't have to fit so snugly, so they're more forgiving when you're trying to find one the right size. And after a dive, wet wetsuits can make you colder due to evaporative cooling. Most dry suits don't have this problem, and the undergarments keep you warm after you take the suit off. Of course, dry suits do have their drawbacks. For one, they cost more than comparable quality wetsuits, though they have a long lifespan and your cost per dive is usually lower. Dry suits tend to have a bit more drag when you're swimming, and you may need to wear a bit more weight. If you expect your dry suit to give you reliable, dry, warm dives, you have to give it more pre-dive and post-dive care than a wetsuit. This even includes how you fold and carry it to and from the dive. So, there's no one right suit for all diving. You choose your exposure suit based on the water temperature, the weather, how long you plan to be in the water, how easily you chill, how much you'll be exercising, how deep you'll be, and how well you personally generate and retain heat. For cooler water, you'll usually want to choose a dry suit. Like all dive equipment, you can choose from a variety of dry suits with different features, which we'll look at in a moment. But all dry suits have special watertight zippers, seals at the neck and wrists, an inflator valve, and an exhaust valve. You need a special watertight zipper so you have an opening for getting into and out of your suit and still keep the water out when you're wearing it. Dry suit zippers grew out of zippers originally designed for spacesuits. Dry suit zippers are reliable, but they're one of the most expensive and sensitive parts of your suit, so you need to give them proper care. Different dry suits have zippers located in different places. Across the shoulders is the most common zipper location, but you need someone to zip and unzip for you. Diagonally from hip to shoulder is a self-don design that makes it possible to get into and out of the suit without help or with little assistance to get started. The horizontal waist zipper also provides self-donning. Which is best? The one you like the best. Dry suits also have seals at the neck and wrists. Seals may be made of latex rubber like these, or neoprene like these. Latex seals are the easiest to put on and take off, to adjust size and to replace if necessary. But they're also the easiest to damage, and they don't insulate and cause cold spots unless there's insulation over or under them. You can get two types of neoprene seals, flat sealing, which are the simplest to put on, and fold under, which are commonly used as neck seals, but also available for wrist seals. Neoprene seals may last longer than latex seals and they insulate, but replacing them is harder and size adjustment takes longer. They also stretch with use, whereas high-quality latex seals don't. Again, the best for you is the type you like best. Some dry suits have interchangeable seals, though these are most commonly used in rental dry suits. Keep in mind that seals can leak when you make a fist, forming channels under a seal, when there's dirt or hair under a seal, or if you vent air through a seal. But you can usually avoid this leakage through proper donning and diving techniques. A damaged seal may leak quite a bit, and hair under your neck seal will drizzle cold water down your back throughout a dive. When you buy your dry suit, you'll get neoprene seals sized approximately to your neck and wrists, but you may need to adjust them so they're snug, but not uncomfortable. It's best to have seals adjusted by someone trained and experienced in it, but it's not difficult if you're careful. Latex seals are usually tapered so that you can make them larger by trimming them. Have someone hold the seal where you trim off no more than about 5 millimeters, a quarter of an inch. If in doubt, under-trim. You can always retrim if it's still too tight after a dive. But if you cut off too much, you'll have to replace the seal. You don't trim neoprene seals, but stretch them overnight on something that's round and about the right size. Again, air slightly tight if in doubt, and leave room for the seal to stretch further with use. Stretch seals too big, and you'll have to replace them. But never wear a neck seal that's uncomfortably tight because it can trigger the carotid sinus reflex. This is when the seal presses on the carotid arteries in the neck, which the body mistakes for high blood pressure. In response, the heartbeat slows and less blood reaches the brain, but the pressure is still there, so the heart slows further, Eventually, a diver can faint because of inadequate blood reaching the brain. A seal tight enough to cause carotid sinus reflex will usually be uncomfortable and make the diver feel lightheaded before losing consciousness, so you can avoid this problem by not diving with an uncomfortably tight neck seal. A dry suit surrounds you with an airspace that you need to equalize when you descend. That's what the inflator valve does. It works like your BCD inflator to add air or argon to your suit to prevent a squeeze and to maintain your buoyancy. The inflator valve connects to your regulator, or if you're using argon, to a small tank with a special regulator. The inflator's usually in the center of the chest, but you can have it located elsewhere if you prefer. Remember to disconnect the low-pressure hose before taking your scuba unit off, and to connect it after you put it on. When you ascend, you need to release expanding gas from your dry suit to prevent excess buoyancy. You do this by pressing on the dry suit exhaust valve while raising it, which usually means ascending with your feet down and raising your left shoulder slightly. You can set the exhaust valves on most modern dry suits to vent automatically. You adjust the valve to hold the amount of gas you want in the suit. We'll go over this in detail when we look at dry suit diving techniques. When you ascend, you set the valve all the way open so the maximum expanding gas escapes automatically. Of course, you can vent manually at any time just by pressing on the valve. You can choose from a lot of different materials in a dry suit. Tri-laminate material is one of the more expensive materials, but it's lightweight for travel, easy to repair, and lasts a long time. Coated fabric suits have most of the same advantages as tri-laminate, and some types are less expensive, but the lower-cost types don't last as long, so may actually be more expensive in the long run. Vulcanized rubber suits are some of the toughest, which makes them popular with commercial divers. They're easy to repair, but they're the heaviest. Like tri-laminate, they cost a bit more than other types, but they last long enough to be a good buy in the long run. Crushed neoprene is wetsuit material intentionally crushed to eliminate its buoyancy or insulation. It's very comfortable, durable, and long-lasting, making them popular with wreck divers. They're easy to repair, but you have to dry them first, which can take a while. And like a wetsuit, you can get a bit of evaporative cooling out of water. They cost about the same as tri-laminate, but are one of the longest-lasting suits. The first modern dry suits were made of wetsuit neoprene like this. Unlike all the other types, neoprene dry suits require no undergarment for warmth unless you dive deep. They're comfortable and moderately priced and easy to repair like crushed neoprene. The primary drawbacks are that they lose insulation with depth, and over time, just like a wetsuit, you have evaporative cooling out of water, and they require the most weight. Obviously, the best dry suit material is a compromise of characteristics and economics. That's why you might want to choose a composite suit, which uses two materials. This suit uses crushed neoprene from the waist down for maximum comfort while swimming and durability in the high-wear leg area. Above the waist, tri-laminate makes the suit lighter and more compact for traveling. In addition to the dry suit itself, you need to keep your head, hands, and feet warm. For your head, you'll use one of a variety of hoods. For many dry suits, you use a wetsuit hood without a bib. Other dry suits provide a warm neck collar to hold a hood bib over a latex neck seal. Latex hoods are usually dry hoods attached to the suit, though there's a neck seal too in case the hood leaks. Latex hoods require an undergarment skull cap for insulation. Virtually all quality dry suits made today have built-in boots, but you can choose from degrees of ruggedness ranging from standard boots to heavy-duty hard sole types. In recreational diving, the usual practice is to use wetsuit gloves with your dry suit. In colder water, 3-finger mitts give you the most warmth. In moderately cool water, standard 5-finger gloves offer some dexterity. And in water above 12 degrees Celsius, 54 degrees Fahrenheit, some divers cut the fingertips off for more dexterity at the sacrifice of some warmth and hand protection. You tend to be hard on the knees, so knee pads help protect the suit. You can get similar pads for the elbows, buttocks, or other areas. Utility pockets on the thigh come in handy, though add some drag, and many divers like a knife pocket. Suspenders hold the suit uniformly and prevent sagging at the waist, with the side advantage of holding the suit up when you're wearing it between dives. Telescoping torsos provide extra suit length for getting into a self-donning suit. The extra length folds back over itself once you have it on and gives you some adjustability in the suit's fit. Most significantly, it accordions in and out when you bend at the waist or raise your arms, giving you more room to move without making the suit baggy. This is especially useful with materials that don't stretch, like trilaminate. Except for neoprene suits, dry suits don't insulate you much. To do that, you wear an undergarment. Undergarments provide insulation by trapping air or argon, and through its own insulating characteristics. There are 6 considerations when choosing an undergarment, the first being cost. Like all dive gear, the more you can invest, the more you'll get in terms of performance, durability, and other advantages. Second, choose your undergarment based on the water temperature you'll be using it in. Different garments have different temperature ratings. Third, you might want to consider the garment's insulating characteristics when wet. Some, like Thinsulate, provide excellent insulation even with a leak. Others don't insulate as well. Fourth, consider the care the garment requires. Some take the same care as any clothing. Other types have special laundering requirements. Fifth, think about the garment's bulk. Some materials have little bulk, whereas others require more bulk for the same insulation. Less bulk makes it easier to get into and out of your dry suit, and minimizes the weight you need to wear. Finally, be sure to choose a suit that doesn't restrict your movement or range of motion. Remember, you'll be swimming in this suit, so you'll need to be able to move comfortably. Depending on the water temperature, you may want extra layers around your torso. Be sure that anything you wear against your skin has wicking properties that carry away moisture. If not, add the layer over your undergarment. Wearing the wrong material against your body, like cotton, will trap moisture and actually make you colder instead of warmer. A dry suit carries gas trapped in the undergarment to provide insulation, but that means you may need more weight to offset the resulting buoyancy. How much more depends on the type of suit and undergarment you use, so it may be a little more weight than you're used to, or considerably more. You may be used to a weight belt, but alternatives include weight harness systems and BCDs with integrated weights. These take the load off your lower back and make it easy to redistribute weight. You can even divide your weight between 2 weight systems and use accessory weights to distribute weight where it's most comfortable and gives the underwater balance you like. Remember, you don't have to be able to ditch all of your weight in an emergency, just enough to assure positive buoyancy. With 2 weight systems, you can ditch part of your weight, minimizing the risk of an uncontrolled ascent. Chances are the BCD you have will work just fine with a dry suit, though you may need to readjust it to fit over the extra bulk. You're going to learn to control your buoyancy underwater using your dry suit, but it's much more comfortable to use your BCD to float at the surface. And you use your BCD for buoyancy control if you have a problem with your dry suit. With lower heat capacity than air, argon insulates better than air without adding insulation. An argon system is a small cylinder with a special regulator that connects to your dry suit. Note that it has no regulator second stage, so you can't accidentally breathe from it. It's recommended that you still have a low-pressure hose coming off your air regulator that you can attach to your dry suit if you inadvertently use all your argon during a dive. Using argon has some disadvantages, including the inconvenience of carrying the extra system and getting argon, which many dive stores don't carry. There may be regulations you have to follow regarding the type of valves and regulators used with argon, and the decompression considerations of diving surrounded by argon have not been studied. There are no major theoretical concerns, but if you choose to dive with argon, you must accept the risk that there may be unknown decompression risks. It's important that an argon system be marked clearly so that no one accidentally tries to breathe from it. Argon isn't toxic. The concern is the lack of oxygen, which would cause a diver to black out without warning. Now that you're familiar with the components that make up your dry suit system, let's look at the procedures for putting it on and diving in it. If it's warm out, wait until the last moment possible to get into your undergarment and dry suit. Begin by removing any jewelry, watches, or anything that could damage your wrist or neck seals. How you don a suit varies with the model, but with most, you begin by stepping in, pulling it up to your waist, and putting on the suspenders if the suit has them. Usually, your arms go in next. You may want to lubricate the seal with talcum powder or as recommended by the manufacturer so they slide on easily. Take your time. Put seals on slowly and carefully so you don't damage or stretch them out of shape. Be sure each seal lies flat and doesn't have hair or anything else under it. The last seal is your neck seal. If you have a neoprene neck seal, note how you fold it under. With either latex or neoprene, you may want to get your buddy to check that it's flat and that there's no hair trapped beneath it. Secure the foot straps if your suit has them, if you haven't already. Now you're ready to zip up. You can do this yourself in a self-don suit. Pull slowly, steadily, and never force the zipper. Get your buddy to zip you up if you're wearing a shoulder entry suit, but it's a good habit to give the zipper a final tug yourself to be sure it's closed. If your suit has a telescoping torso, fold it over and secure it after the suit's zipped. The last step is to purge the suit of excess air so it doesn't balloon around your neck after you get in. Hold open your neck seal and crouch into a ball. You'll feel the air jet past your face. Replace the seal and stand up. Now you're ready to finish gearing up and go diving. If you're using argon, re-inflate the suit with argon and do this again to flush air out of the suit for better insulation. After your pre-dive safety check, which should include checking your dry suit valves for proper operation, put air into your BCD so you'll float comfortably and enter the water. If there's a bit too much air in your suit, release it through the exhaust valve. Relax using your BCD for positive buoyancy. Now you can check your weight. Purge your suit of excess air and open the automatic exhaust valve all the way. Then, with your regulator in your mouth, empty your BCD and hold a normal breath and see how high you float in the water. Add or subtract weight until you float at eye level. Then, if you're checking your weight with a full tank, add 2 to 3 kilograms, 5 to 6 pounds. The extra weight compensates for the weight you lose as you consume air. Without it, you may have too much positive buoyancy at the end of the dive to comfortably make a safety stop. You usually need to recheck your weight when you change undergarments, dry suits, or go from fresh to salt water, or vice versa. After your weight's set, you're ready to descend. Make sure all the air's out of your BCD and exhale. That should start you downward. As you descend, you'll feel the dry suit squeeze around you as the water compresses the gas inside. Adding air or argon offsets the compression to prevent a suit squeeze and to keep your buoyancy under control. Lower your left shoulder and the exhaust valve as you add gas in short bursts. Short bursts control your buoyancy more effectively, and in very cool water, this helps avoid freezing up the inflator valve. With your descent under control, you may want to shift to a more horizontal position, like this, to help distribute gas throughout the suit. At the bottom, if you find you're a bit too heavy, close your exhaust valve a turn so your suit holds more gas. When you're properly weighted, you'll only need to make minor adjustments, if any. Now enjoy your dive. Add gas as you descend. And by keeping the automatic exhaust valve at the highest point whenever you go up a bit, expanding gas vents automatically. During ascents, expanding gas escapes automatically, but set the valve all the way open so it releases gas easily. Ascend with the valve at the highest point on the suit, and you can manually exhaust as needed to keep up with gas expanding in your suit. When you reach the surface after your safety stop, inflate your BCD so you float comfortably. There are a few safety considerations unique to dry suit diving. Using proper techniques, you can make thousands of dry suit dives without incident. But to be prudent, let's look at the hazards, cause, prevention, and correction to suit squeeze, excess buoyancy, excess air in the suit legs, and to a flooded dry suit. Suit squeeze occurs if you descend without adding gas to the suit. This can happen if you forgot to connect the inflator hose, if the valve malfunctions, if you're using an argon system and run out of argon, or if you simply forget. A suit squeeze can cause painful welts and bruises, and if you keep descending, it can restrict breathing. If you're descending and can't add gas to your suit, immediately stop your descent. Use your BCD if you need to regain neutral buoyancy, and abort the dive. Switch to the spare hose from your breathing regulator if you're using an argon system, but don't continue the dive if you can't put gas in your suit. You can avoid suit squeeze by checking your dry suit inflator valve before entering the water, and by remembering to add air to your suit as you descend. If you're using an argon system, make sure you have enough argon for the dive. Excess buoyancy is a serious concern because it can lead to a runaway rapid ascent, which poses a risk of decompression sickness, lung expansion injuries, and other serious pressure injuries. One way this can happen is if your inflator valve sticks or freezes open, causing your suit to inflate rapidly. To correct this, immediately disconnect the inflator and dump the excess gas through the exhaust valve. Remember to position yourself so the exhaust valve is the highest point on the suit. You can avoid inflator valve problems by checking it before diving, by adding gas in short bursts, by maintaining your suit properly and having it serviced annually. Follow manufacturers' recommendations in water cold enough to call for sealed ice diving regulators that resist freezing. Although rare, an exhaust valve can stick shut, making it impossible to vent expanding air when you ascend. If you can, swim back down or grab something to stop your ascent. Control your ascent by releasing air from a wrist seal. You may get water in the suit doing this. You can release air from a seal anytime you can't get enough air to vent through the exhaust valve. Avoid a stuck exhaust valve through proper maintenance and by checking it before each dive. You have to offset too much weight by putting more gas in your suit. Expanding gas when you ascend can exceed what can dump through the exhaust valve. If this happens, stop and let the valve catch up. If necessary, hang on to something or release gas through a wrist seal. Then resume ascending more slowly so that expanding gas has time to vent. You avoid this by diving properly weighted. A lost weight system can lead to a runaway ascent. The techniques for lost weights apply to handling a runaway ascent of any kind in a dry suit. Of course, you can avoid losing weights by being familiar with your weight system and by inspecting it before each dive to be sure it's set up properly and secure. Your weight system may release if you don't secure it properly, or if you accidentally trip the release. If you can, grab the weights, but if you miss, you'll need to handle a runaway ascent. Dump as much gas as you can, and then grab a line if you can to slow your ascent. Otherwise, flare out facing the surface to create as much drag as possible. Make an R sound as you exhale each breath to assure an open airway, and watch overhead for any objects that you may need to steer clear of. Excess air in your suit's feet or legs is caused by having too much buoyancy and then allowing your legs to get above shoulder level at the same time. This can cause an uncontrolled rapid feet-up ascent, sometimes making your fins pop off and leaving you floating upside down at the surface. This is actually a rare problem because you can easily prevent it by avoiding excess buoyancy and by not ascending with your feet higher than your exhaust valve. There are several ways to get out of a feet-up ascent. To perform a forward rollout, bend at the waist and kick forward until you're head up. A backward rollout is the same technique, only in the other direction. The ball tuck method is useful if your legs are too full to swim effectively, or if there's no room to swim. Tuck, roll on your back, and dump air. Your instructor will have you practice these techniques. If you can't stop the ascent and end up floating upside down at the surface, you may be too buoyant to get upright just by swimming. Inflate your BCD to bring your head up to the surface, then deflate your suit. If you take care of your dry suit, you'll have few, if any, incidents when your suit floods, but it can happen. Normally, you'll notice a leak as soon as you get in the water, but it can also take until you're into the dive before you notice a leak. Most leaks are minor and are caused by a damaged zipper, material caught in it, or failure to close it all the way. Seal leakage due to hair, dirt, poor adjustment, or damaged exhaust valve leakage due to poor maintenance, or tears and holes caused by wear, chafing, puncture, or delamination. Avoid leaks through proper maintenance and by closing the zipper carefully. If you do experience a leak, abort the dive. It's rare to have a massive flood that fills your suit with water. It's usually a cool, spreading drizzle that's not comfortable, but doesn't interfere with buoyancy control or even making your safety stop. If you do suffer a major flood, you may need to use your BCD to control your buoyancy. If your suit loses too much buoyancy, it may help to drop some of your weight, but be careful to avoid a rapid ascent. Depending how wet you become and the water temperature, it may be best to skip a safety stop and seek warmth immediately. Earlier you learned that dry suits require a bit more care than a wet suit. Let's take a look at how to maintain, store, and pack your dry suit. Like all your gear, your first line of care is rinsing the suit in fresh water after using it. Zip the suit shut and be careful around the neck and wrist seals and you'll keep water from getting in. But if you've had more than minor leakage, or if you sweat a good bit, you'll want to rinse the inside of the suit too. Be sure to rinse the valves thoroughly. Then hang the suit to dry over a thick rod or something that avoids creasing. If you rinse the inside and will need it soon, hang it inside out. Avoid leaving the suit in one position for more than a day, and don't hang it in direct sunlight. If you're not going to use the suit for a while, make sure it's completely dry. Then, if you like, dust the seals with talcum powder as directed by the manufacturer. Tuck latex seals into the arms and body of the suit. By the way, do not use any silicone on any part of your dry suit. Even some seal preservatives have silicone and are not recommended by some manufacturers. If the zipper picked up any dirt or grit, clean it gently with mild soap and water and a soft toothbrush. Rinse and allow to dry. Do this before attempting to open the suit if it got really dirty during the dive. After cleaning, lubricate the zipper using paraffin zipper wax. Never use silicone or silicone spray on your dry suit zipper unless directed otherwise by the manufacturer. Put the cap on the inlet stem so it won't damage the suit. Then fold the suit up loosely with the zipper open. Fold so the zipper lies relaxed with no sharp bends. Keep your suit in a sealed plastic bag to reduce ozone damage. Then store in a cool, dry place away from water heaters, automobiles, electric motors, and other sources of ozone and hydrocarbons. You can machine wash and dry most undergarments, but with many types, especially Thinsulate, it's important that you do not use soap or detergent because its residue interferes with its ability to wick away moisture. If it's so dirty that you must use detergent, use only a little, and after doing so, run the suit through several cycles without detergent to be sure you rinse it all out. In caring for your suit, baby the zipper. It's your suit's most expensive part, so always store the suit with the zipper open and folded gently. Have anyone helping you open and close it gently, and never force a stuck zipper. When you turn the suit inside out, be careful to avoid overstressing and twisting the zipper. And when wearing your suit partially donned between dives, avoid sitting or leaning against the zipper. When traveling with your dry suit, if possible, pack it in its own bag, fold it like you store it. You'll probably carry your undergarments in a separate bag so you can keep them warm and dry. As much as possible, avoid damage by keeping your dry suit out of stacks of other gear, and try and pack it so that if anything heavy does end up on top, it won't damage the zipper. Besides the care you give your suit, have the manufacturer or your PADI operation service your suit annually. This service not only includes valve overhauls, but inspects for problems and wear before they become serious. If you're going to dive in a dry suit, you have to accept that you're going to need to repair a small leak once in a while. So we're going to go over the basics for normal repairs like patching a hole. Handle major repairs, replacing a boot or a valve, by taking your suit to the manufacturer or a dive center. You're not likely to have the resources for such extensive jobs, but these professionals have the tools and materials to do these repairs right. Since different materials require slightly different repair methods, you'll need to consult the manufacturer literature and the PADI Dry Suit Diver Manual for specifics for your suit. The first step in repairing a leak is finding it. Sometimes you can do that during the dive by elevating the area that's leaking and looking for bubbles. Note where the leak is as precisely as you can. Tiny holes can be hard to relocate later. If the hole is someplace you can't see easily, get your buddy to help. You can also locate a leak by zipping the suit up and closing the seals with rubber bands or by putting appropriate sized cans or jars in them. Inflate the suit, spread soapy water on the area, and watch for bubbles. Or you can immerse the suit and watch for bubbles. Another method, go into a dark room and put a flashlight inside against the leak area. Look for the light to shine through the hole. This method works best with tri-laminate, vulcanized rubber, and coated fabric suits. When you find it, mark the spot with a laundry marker or some other non-permanent marker. Keep looking until you're sure you've found all the holes. Before beginning your repair, the patch area must be dry on both sides. Use a hairdryer set on low heat to speed drying if you like. Check the literature for your type suit, but in most cases, the next step is to locate the repair area on the inside of the suit. You patch most suits on the inside not only because it looks better, but normal stresses press the patch against the repair area. Apply cement appropriate for your suit material. In some cases, you may need to remove some material first. Some repairs, like a tear, may require only gluing, but you'll usually apply the patch next. Allow the cement to dry before diving the suit again. This may take less than an hour or up to 24 hours, depending on the cement you had to use. You normally have the manufacturer or your dive center replace seals. But if you're going to be on an extended trip, you might need to replace a seal yourself. If you think this may apply to you, it's a good idea to do it the first time with someone who's done it before. The first step is to remove the old seal, and how you do this varies depending on your suit. In some cases, you carefully peel the seal away, and in others, you trim the cemented area off your suit. Again, you need to check the specifics for your suit. Next, clean the seal area to remove all remaining glue and material, or rough the remaining seal so you'll get a good bond when you glue on the new one. Glue the new seal on carefully and evenly. Some seals may require an initial cement to bond the seal to the suit, followed by a cement that goes over the bond to assure that there's no leakage. Seal replacement may take more than a day, so allow yourself plenty of time and don't rush the job. Again, it's generally preferable to have the manufacturer or your dive center do this. And keep in mind that sometimes you can repair a seal, particularly neoprene ones, well enough to use the suit until you can have the seal replaced professionally. But remember, you won't spend near as much time repairing or caring for your dry suit as you do diving in it. That's what a dry suit is all about. More diving in more comfort.